Thank you so much. The Chairman and Directors of the Namibian Ports Authority, Mr. Rory, Managing Director of Transport Events Management, and his esteemed staff. The moderator, Mr. Mark Assaf, the Chief Human Resources Development Section of UNCTAD. Distinguished panelists, port stakeholders, distinguished participants, dear delegates. At the very outset of my intervention, I would like to convey to the Chairman and Directors of Namibian Ports Authority my warmest congratulations for hosting this conference in order to address topical issues and challenges facing the port community within the SADC region. I would fail in my duty if I did not comment the excellent contribution of transport events management in the realization of this conference. Mauritius is a member of the Southern African Development Community and of course a member of the African Union since their inceptions. Undoubtedly, there have been various summits held among the heads of member states of these regional platforms who have given the green light to the implementation of several action plans pertaining inter alia to maritime security and safety, intra-trade relationship among member countries, as well as the improvement of capacity building of ports in the region in a bid to respond to growing sea trade challenges, such as the mitigation and adaptation measures to face the impact of climate change on the sustainability of ports development. The Economic Development Board, EDB, at the investment arm of the Mauritian government, has taken bold measures to sustain the promotion of the African strategy as one of the main catalysts to unlock economic growth for our local economy, resulting in multiplying positive effects on the commercial aspects within the region. So, massive capital investment have been mainly made over the last 5 years by the central government through the Mauritius Ports Authority, other parastatal bodies and private promoters in the logistics and supply chain sector. Just to mention a few, new state-of-the-art port installations have been constructed to revamp the containerization activities at Port Louis Harbour and the creation of the Richdale Logistic Industrial Park near the port area to give a new competitive edge to boost up sea trade within the region. Dear valued policymakers, the economic potentials are here. We just need to create new synergies, establish a new roadmap so as to tap the enormous opportunities emanating from this redefined global geostrategic economic perspectives. Ladies and gentlemen, you will, during the delivery of my presentation, take cognizance of the vision of Port Louis Harbour to become one of the preferred maritime gateways to Africa, simply the future hub. Ultimately, our port investment strategies are likely to contribute in the enhancement of sea trade activities within the SADC region. Here are some focal points, which, in my humble opinion, require our immediate attention in the attainment of the objectives of this present webinar to enhance economic collaboration with the members of the Southern African Development Community. 1, the commissioning of a comprehensive port master plan for the SADC region. 2, the creation of a maritime port academy within the SADC. The creation of a proper investment command mechanism, OSPVs, for funding of ambitious port development projects. The creation of a common digital platform to accelerate and revamp online trade activities among the port stakeholders and the port and maritime industry in the SADC region. The establishment of a robust plan of actions to support the adaptation and mitigation programs to face the growing threats of climate change. Next, the creation of an African maritime shipping services company as a supplementary support to boost up inter-trade relationship among member states of the Southern African Development Community. 8, the formulation of a common policy on how to contain the effects of any pandemic or epidemic on port trade traffic. Last, the creation of a cruise development strategy for Africa. Our MPA is building its resilience. To say this year has not been a normal year would be an understatement. I would tend to agree that there has not been a normal year for shipping and ports worldwide, especially in Africa for quite a few years. Despite the challenges, the Port Authority in Mauritius is managing the COVID-19 bug in the face of external shocks with some key strengths, which should help it weather the worst of the storm. In line with the economic recovery plan of the government, the MPA is gearing itself to explore all opportunities to bounce back as a vibrant port-centric logistics cluster with a commitment support of the port community at large. MPA is navigating the new normal and is building its resilience through its continuous port development programs and projects, which I'm going to show in the following slides. Consolidating the seafood sector. MPA is playing an important part in consolidating the seafood sector by helping to attract investors and creating additional employment in that sector. Seafood activities have significant potential for growth and development, particularly considering that the available port infrastructure is generally sufficient to support further growth. Port Louis Harbour has modern logistic facilities, including state-of-the-art core rooms, processing units, as well as fishing quays and other port-related services. There is a window of opportunity to reposition Port Louis as a new frontier for seafood development projects through more flexible and attractive public-private partnership programs. The fishing port at Fort William. To further consolidate the fishing sector, the MPA intends to construct 2 breakwaters, one at the north of Fort William and another at Codon Basin, and a key of 50 meters. Land reclamation about 10 hectares, 300 meters of shoreline will be reserved for the development of fishing berths by the private promoters. Works are expected to start this year in September, and we hope that the works will be completed by mid-June 2023. As the bunkering and petroleum, we have a great ambition to create a petroleum hub within this region. MPA is playing a vital role in the setting up a dynamic bunkering platform, which will enable the supply of a bunker fuel to vessels plying on the African-Asian maritime route. Mauritius is committed to become a strategic bunkering hub with the confluence of exogenous factors such as booming South-South trade and Africa catching up rapidly and enjoying a strategic position along the South-South Maritime corridor. The MPA is granting generous incentives to vessels calling for bunker at the anchorage, 50% discount on all port charges. As we go to the cruise terminal, in 2018-2019 cruise session, portways have received 45 cruise vessel calls and 61,759 passengers. And presently, we are embarking on a construction of a new terminal building. As you can see on the slide, an iconic building will be one of the most convenient terminals within the region. And we are proceeding also in the near future with the breakwater and the island container terminal. As I mentioned earlier, that we need to build resilience and to face the consequences of climate change. The breakwater is becoming a very important aspect to protect our port installations and for future development projects like the island container terminal. The construction of an island terminal will be the centerpiece of Portways' bid for regional container status. Launched, of course, by MPA, this bold development project, which includes dredging and land reclamation works, the construction of a breakwater, will accommodate 3 dedicated container berths and the purchase of additional container handling equipment. This construction program comes with a reassuring stamp of approval of the government. With a planned draft of 18 meters, the dredging will ensure that the navigation channel is accessible to the latest generation of container vessels, while the construction of 3 container berths will provide a total length of 1.2 kilometers with the ability to accommodate 400-meter vessels. The new container berth will also see the construction of key ports, additional buildings, and ancillary utility services. Land reclamation will provide an additional land area of 50 hectares that will be used for the container terminal as well as other identified projects. The Mauritius container terminal will be linked to the island terminal by a bridge of about 800 meters. Thanks to this mega project, productivity levels will be enhanced and will be complemented by new and efficient hardware. And we expect with the construction of this breakwater and eventually the island container terminal, the Portways Harbour will gain further momentum to be the transshipment hub within the region. Let us talk now. I just heard about what is being currently done by the Namibian port as regards to maritime single window. I would like to congratulate her for this advancement, and we are on the same equal foot as regards how to bring more efficiency in our services. International trade is still truly the engine of the global economy. Its growth follows the trends of economic indicators. Behind this quasi-linear alignment, that is a thorough change giving an increasingly predominant role to emerging economies. Since February 2019, the Facilitation of Maritime Traffic Convention and the aegis of IMO makes it mandatory for ships and ports to exchange data electronically and encourages the use of so-called single window concept, in which all the agencies and authorities involved exchange data via a single point of contact. The concept of maritime window, single window at Portways, find its importance in search for optimization of the port and maritime logistics and formalities. MBA, as retained services of Vistacom Communication for the digital port industry platform. This platform would serve as an effective communication tool highlighting, among others, the current development initiatives and potential investment opportunities in the port sector, and would no doubt be a valuable resource to port users, international agencies, and businessmen, both local and foreign. Let us now talk about the Green Port Initiative. Recognizing the importance to reduce and neutralize the negative impact of port operations on the environment and the surrounding port community, the MPA is gearing itself to adopt measures under the Green Port concept. African ports must embark on the Green Port Initiative, demonstrating the capacity to involve all development sectors by contributing to a regional framework for resilient development and particularly to continue to develop innovative proposals to make low carbon development a reality. The Mauritius Harbour, as you can see, and later on I will provide all the slides and you have an opportunity to see how Mauritius Harbour will look like in the future. Navigating the new normal in the Southern African Development Community. The most important question is, do ports need to sustain these new practices in the long term or revert to the traditional approaches after the COVID-19 crisis? Our prediction is that our ports must adapt to the new normal. Given the unexpected disruptions in the economy, marketplace, supply chain, and customer requirements, in the near and long term, only port authorities and shipping companies can respond to such disruptions with agility are likely to grow and thrive. The more so, port authorities and shipping companies will be able to reverse the tendency of the downfall of trade traffic in certain ports. To address the challenges and overcome some of the prevailing inhibitors to their success and growth, African ports must embrace various technologies to achieve performance improvements realized by the counterparts in other geographies. In pursuing our such performance excellence, African port authorities need to identify two top-level goals, that is, increasing port throughput and improving terminal operations. Enhancing the climate resilience of African ports. The world is facing with continual economic and environmental challenges emanating from climate change. These changes are experienced in many sectors within the global countries. Ports, like other environments, are one of those areas that are significantly faced with the impact of climate change. The fast-tracking transformation of African ports. In fact, the port sector has a special significance in Africa, since more than 80% of the continent's trade passes through ports. The modernization of port infrastructure affects is a fundamental component of Africa's transformation, competitiveness, industrialization, and economic integration. If Africa wants to draw attention to its vast resources, including its mining and agricultural products, and will be able to export them, then it will need a fast-tracking transformation in sports. If Africa wants to become integrated in the global value chains and industrialize, it will also need suitable port infrastructure. Leveraging on SADC and PAMESA. By transcending countries' boundaries, both the SADC and PAMESA can work synergistically to boost trade, industry, and investment opportunities by pooling together all the ports within the SADC to a single large regional market of or 190 million people span over 16 member states, with a combined gross domestic product of over 720 billion USD. The Eastern and Southern African region is an emerging market which can attract substantial domestic, regional, and foreign investment. Globalization presents both opportunities and challenges for developing our ports, especially as we brace ourselves with internationalization of production, distribution networks, and a mega revolution in the information technology. Human resources is a center of development of our ports. The SADC and the PAMESA can help our ports to build capacity in managing regional integration process and the change brought about by the mounting pressure of globalization. For the region to be part of the process, the port sector has to be led by men and women of high caliber with the right business culture to pursue the shared vision of turning the Eastern and Southern African region into a competitive and fast-growing economic center in this part of the developing world. The future is very challenging. One of the PAMESA has indeed a key role to play to re-engineer itself into an ideal platform for the development of our ports to adapt to the new normal and meet the needs of our ports for velocity, predictability, and reliability. What about now the cooperation with the ports of SADC region? Anticipating increases in the port traffic, both the SADC and the PAMESA can collaborate to create the right environment for improvements to the port and maritime infrastructure in Southern Africa in order to sustain regional integration and economic development objectives. Since we should improve the management of our infrastructure, it is high time for the Port Management Association of Eastern and Southern Africa to spearhead a cooperation program for its members in the following fields: for development and exchange technology, know-how and information and design and building standards to make port facilities better constructed, more efficient and secure, cooperation with government agencies and private initiatives in the execution of programs, projects, and activities for port development. Human capital development, including appropriate technical training and personal improvement to achieve optimal port performance. Interest in researching the proper use of tugs, ensuring safe and efficient marine operations, as well as carrying out cross-training activities for pilots and tugboat captains to include hands-on training, extensive ship stimulation exercises. Environmental quality issues in operating port facilities in an environmentally sensitive manner in line with the Green Port Initiative. Now let us come to the potential actions for the future of African ports, ladies and gentlemen. First, African ports must invest wisely to end the vicious cycle of operational inefficiencies. It is suggested that investment in modernizing existing infrastructure and the use of new technologies such as port call optimization application, the task automation to streamlining operations is critical. Ambitious governance reform is needed to attract public-private partnership for financing. The report said this could be establishing clear roadmaps, explicitly defining the role of stakeholders, and above all, setting up stable, transparent legal frameworks. Streamlining the port city interactions, improving connectivity with hinterlands are essential to boosting port sector competitiveness. The rapid urbanization of African cities has resulted in congestions on various ports. One of the solutions to develop multimodal logistics corridors are they would better connect ports to inland areas while also reducing operating costs. African ports must modernize the non-continent segment to ensure continent's full development. Exploring other solutions such as bulk, roll-on, roll-off, grain terminals would help diversify trade and turn economies in the direction of a more resilient and less dependent model. Let us now come to regional maritime service. Africa relies heavily on ships and ports to service its intercontinental trade. It's a fact. While it accounts for approximately 2.7% of global trade by value, the continent contributes higher shares to global seaborne trade, 7%, and 5% maritime exports and imports by volume, respectively. While 1/3 of African countries are landlocked, maritime transport remains the main gateway to the global marketplace. Maritime trade in Africa is shaped by the continent's trade concentration and limited diversification. Accordingly, 40% of goods exported by sea comprise crude oil, while over 2/3 of imports account for dry cargoes, dry bulks, and containerized goods. And close to 20% of imports are made up of petroleum products and gas. In some areas of Africa, transport costs constitute a high trade barrier than import tariffs and other trade restrictions. Therefore, there is a strong case for the setting up of a regional maritime service, which can act as a vector of regional integration, adapted to the development needs of the Eastern and Southern African region. Furthermore, the proposed regional maritime service will allow the emergence of new opportunities for increased trade in the region, which then can help to make it financially sustainable in the medium to long term. Our ports need to become the future ready. Ultimately, with exemplary planning and adaptive solutions, we will ensure that our port operations remain efficient and become more resilient. Demonstrated experience during this time period will be useful for future scenario planning, especially with the onset of more frequent extreme weather events, such as high wind speeds, swells, and flooding. Preparedness, good organization, and robust governance with flexible future-ready systems will prove to our stakeholders that we have inbuilt adaptive capacity and demonstrate tangible resilience. One thing is certain, ladies and gentlemen, COVID-19 is going to make our ports more resilient. And in the next level of planning, we can also address climate change concern in a sustainable manner. We'll be making great strides towards becoming future ready. Our ports need also support and restore regional economy. It is essential for ports to continue developing more capacity for long-term growth and respond to changing shipping dynamics. Demand is assessed over 25 years or more. So preparing for a successful future means looking beyond the first several months of 2021 while considering the short-term impacts of the COVID-19. Our capital investment projects in the consolidation, modernization, and transformation of ports augur well for our expansion program in 2021 and beyond. With the current development in our ports, we can rise up to the occasion and manage the crisis with optimism. Ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned at the beginning of my intervention, a series of propositions which I have made, according to me, if we work together and ponder over these suggestions and come up together with a plan of action, then we can expect that we can drive our ports into the new normal. Thank you for your attention. It has been a great pleasure to talk to you.